Welcome to an exclusive interview. Shri Shailen Mishra ji, SSP, Jammu Kashmir, Leh Ladakh Range DCP, or Traffic, SSP Traffic, Jammu Kashmir, Leh Ladakh, courtesy India Unbound. Sir, kindly tell us about born and brought up educational qualification and then how you come into the UPSC.
I was born and brought up in the city of Thane, and I studied in the St. John's School, and then I did my graduation from the University of Mumbai. Completed my medical graduation, and I started my medical practice in the year 2002. From there on, I went to study further and completed my management post-graduation. I was working for different corporates before actually venturing into the civil services. So I'm a 2009 batch IPS officer of the JNK cadre.
Okay. You were known as a Singham of Kargil. Do you agree to that, to the title?
I appreciate what people normally give titles to people, but then I don't agree with the title. I just appreciate the feeling behind it.
One cannot imagine of being in the enforcement agency and create an image like a Singham. How did you do that?
The people, the Indian mentality per se, if you see, we are idol, not the so-called Buddha or the idol I'm talking about. We are ideal worshippers. We normally want heroes whom we can look forward to. Say we don't love cricket, we love Sachin Tendulkar. We don't love movies, we love Amitabh Bachchan. So maybe in the political circles or the arena, you may say we might not like a particular party, but we do like somebody else. Say we might not like Shiv Sena, but we love Balasaheb Thackeray. So what the idea behind giving such titles is that people do idealize a particular person, the way he functions, the way he works, and wants it to be emulated in the society by other cops. Maybe something what the Kargil police did during the tenure where I was the police chief of the district. People must have liked, and this is what they came up with. It's pretty interesting and it's pretty exhausting at times to understand how did it come all about.
Okay. Was it an achievement of your management skill? How well did you implement your MBA knowledge in managing your assignments in Kashmir?
The first thing what MBA helps you is in management of the police force itself. Police force is all about human resource management. You have to manage a person as low in rank as an SPO, that is a special police official, to as high as your own DYSP in the district. Understanding the aspirations of each force personnel and actually turning it into reality is the biggest challenge a district chief can have. The other part of the budget management, we do have a constrained budget of the police, and in that budget you got to run the entire district. The third was obviously understanding that people are Y category people. People do get motivated and they do like to work. They are not the X category people who have to be beaten and work has to be extracted from them. So these X and Y category stuff, what one learns in the management curriculum, did help me while my tenure as SSP Kargil was going on.
From Kargil Singham image to managing traffic, do you think you are not being posted at what you deserve?
It's a very deserving post. I mean, to manage traffic is no less challenging than managing terrorism or managing, what do you call that, law and order. Have you heard the term called traffic terror? Most of the road rages turn out because of traffic snarls. People park their vehicles at a wrong place, they get into a fight and killings happen. A good traffic management brings a lot of peace to the common citizenry's life. So I am very proud of the post what the government has actually given me. Rather, I am only the second IPS officer to be posted at that particular place in the past, say, 25-30 years of the traffic police history of JNK. That is Traffic Rural Kashmir. So I won't take your question on face value. I rather would like to say that I am very proud of what I am doing today.
Okay. What are your memories of the 2009 batch?
2009 batch, I mean, coming into the civil services itself is a dream come true. It makes your parents proud, it makes people around you proud, it makes your society proud. It actually makes you a lot more comfortable with people around you. As far as the batch was concerned, it was a lovely batch. Rather, the batchmates are a treasure which you carry forth throughout your life. The best memory what I can actually pick up from the entire 2009 batch was the training part of it. What the academy at Hyderabad receives as neophytes and what it actually produces by the end of the training is totally two different worlds. You won't understand that the same person who entered the academy who is now walking out as an officer. So from an officer trainee to a fully trained officer, this particular journey I'll never forget in my life.
You wanted to quote any batchmate name?
I mean, the best I remember is Karthik Kashyap. He is DCP crime in Goa. He's one of the best buddies I had, and he's quite a famous name in Goa. He actually heads the narcotics cell over there. And my memories with Karthik are really vivid. We had high ideals in life. I was in Kashmir, he was in Gujarat cadre before he got married and finally planned to shift to the Agmat cadre. So we share a very distinct memory as far as our training is concerned.
Okay. Can you reconstruct your childhood, youth and in-service memories?
Before actually coming to the service memory, I forgot to mention a very important gentleman of the 2009 batch. He was the first martyr of our batch, Mr. Narendra Nohwar. He was martyred by Sand Mafia while performing his legal duties in Madhya Pradesh.
I see.
And he was hardly 1 year into service. A very brave officer, son of a serving police personnel, husband of an IS officer, a person with high ideals who idealized Bhagat Singh. He was one who filled the entire batch with energy. We all looked up to him. His loss is a great loss to the service in particular and to the nation in general. My memories in childhood and my memories as far as the service is concerned are two different things again. I was born and brought up just like a normal Purvanchali in Maharashtra would have done. So I was at routine Bhaiya ka ladka studying in a convent school with those 45-50 rank kind of educational background. A dark looking fellow whose nose keeps running and the mother keeps putting a lot of oil in his hair. But then things did change after 8th and 9th. The scenario started changing over here. Parents started taking interest in your education. To all credit of my parents, despite of their limited means of earning, they sent me to the best school possible during their time. So I studied in St. John the Baptist High School. Not only me, they also got my brother and my sister to study in the same school. They could have afforded a better lifestyle, but they invested in education. And today it's paying them off.
It is very difficult to connect to 350 women volunteer in area like Kargil due to terror threat. You not only manage it but also opened a women police station. Hukuk ek khwatin. There how?
Hukuk e Khawateen, connecting women is an impossible task. You can realize it if you travel in a local train and you happen to sit beside a female compartment. You would understand the chaos that happens in there. That's on a lighter note. But then Hukuk e Khawateen are the rights of women, which I really do appreciate. I am a father to 2 daughters and I am a son to a mother who has struggled throughout her life to bring us up. So I always had this feeling in my mind that the rights of women, if respected, would give rise to a very beautiful society. The first endeavor what I undertook being the district chief was to open a respectable place where women can come across and they can lodge their complaints. So the first women's police station in Kargil was launched during my period as SSP Kargil.
Unlike here in Mumbai, this DV that happens, there in Kargil is different and lesser reported. How did you encourage people to connect with the police in comparing Mumbai and JNK?
See, let's understand Kargil as a society. It's a closed society. It's a society where the religious heads of the society, the sectarian heads of the society are far more powerful than the legal institutions. So, because the district remains cut off for almost 6 months of the year, it does not have any connection with the outside world. The road gets closed.
Yeah.
So I understood this particular relationship between the local population and their religious heads, and I tried to bridge that gap. We got the religious heads, the sectarian heads, the heads of the different schools of thoughts, and we encouraged them to tell people that yes, the legal institutions are equally important. It started working, and this is how people did get connected to us. We ran many community action programs, we got people involved, and people's involvement are our success in Kargil.
Okay. What is the difference between Kargil and Mumbai policing?
Policing in Kargil and policing in Mumbai, you can understand by the crime graph. Say a simple police chowki of Mumbai would register more than 200-300 crimes in a year. The entire district of Kargil, 14,000 square kilometers, registered just 200 crimes in a year. So the criminal graph is far too less. People don't commit grievous offences. The policing in Kargil is more of a community policing, where you got to get involved into the community, where you have to work as an instrument of development of the society. We become an instrument of development machinery rather than a criminal monitoring agency only. Whereas Mumbai police has hands full. It has so much of crime to manage, so much of traffic to manage, and so much of surveillance to do, plus now the terror threat. So I do consider the challenges of Mumbai police are far more different than the challenges what Kargil police faces.
Okay. What was your subject in the doctorate? Does it help in your service?
See, I studied medicine. I studied anatomy, physiology, pathology, medicine, surgery. So, to be very frank, rather than giving a naive answer that this helps over there, I'll tell you more than that, it helped me appreciate value of human life. You would understand that we have an extremely high tolerance for loss of human life in our society. How do we talk about people? There was a train going and like 4 people got crushed, and we say, oh, that's bad. And just we forget about it. Human lives were lost. On roads, people die. In accidents, people die more than what terrorism has killed all over the decades. So, this extremely high tolerance for loss of human life is something what perturbs me as a citizen. And this sensitivity in me has come from my medical background. So, whenever a loss of life happens during my tenure in my jurisdiction, I see to it that it is just not confined to papers, but something is done first to prevent another loss of life, and secondly, the one which has already lost, to get it investigated and to put it to a logical conclusion.
Did you learn Urdu? Where and how? And Kashmiri also, I think you can speak fluently.
See, वो कहते हैं जैसा देश वैसा भेष, and then it's a legal compulsion for anybody joining the cadre of JNK. Urdu is our state language. Our entire work happens in Urdu. Our Roznamcha is written in Urdu. Our case diaries are written in Urdu. The court hears in Urdu. The legislature operates in Urdu. So you don't have an option but to learn and actually use and practice Urdu. So I learned when I joined the cadre. Kashmiri I learned out of interest. I do understand it. I try to speak a bit. And then it's a beautiful language, as beautiful as the place and as beautiful as the people.
Great. What is a Kashmir? It's a people and policing there is your own words.
Kashmir is a cultural extravaganza. If you see, it has different cultures. Kashmir is, the entire state is 3 states in one. There is the state of Jammu, there is the state of Kashmir and the state of Ladakh. They are geographically different, they are topographically different, their demography is different, their religious beliefs are different. And most importantly, the feeling of patriotism also differs. So, where you have Ladakh, which normally time and again you would read in newspapers, would demand for a union territory status or to get merged too much with India, where a lot of patriotic fervor you will find in the region of Jammu, you would have certain questions in the valley itself. So, in my words, Kashmir is the richest place to gain experience as a serving police personnel. And rather, I won't be incorrect to say that the Jammu and Kashmir police is the most professional police force the country has seen.
Okay. Do you think Thane can contribute more to Kashmir, paradise on earth?
Why does Thane need to contribute anything to Kashmir? Kashmir contributes everything to India. The rest of the nation takes a lot of pride as Kashmir being a part of it. We talk about Kashmir as a crown of the nation. We talk about Kashmir as one of the most beautiful destinations we have. We use the Kashmiri water for generation of electricity, which goes to the northern grid. We need not do any physical contribution to the state. The contribution what we need to do is change our paradigm towards the state. We need to change what we have perceived about the people there. We need more tourists to actually go and see the place themselves and then judge for them. Rather, there is a Thane MP, Mr. Rajan Vichare. For decades, he has been going to Kashmir for Sri Amarnath Yatra. He is one of the best persons you should go and ask what he thinks about Kashmir. The man who goes there, lives there, the man who repeatedly goes there would be the right person to actually tell you the correct story rather than the armchair journalist or the prime time news what you see on TV, and people do a lot of bombarding as far as Kashmir is concerned. My only message to Thanekars is that it's a beautiful place. It's a place which has got everything in it, and everybody must once in a lifetime do make an effort and come to Kashmir.
And visit Amarnath Yatra as well.
Everywhere. I mean, Amarnath Yatra, Sri Amarnath Yatra is an annual event. Lakhs of people do visit. But beyond Amarnath Yatra also a lot of things Kashmir can offer you.
Exactly. I have been visited 2 years back to Amarnath Yatra, and there was some Afzal Guru का वो फांसी का दिन था. They were celebrating as a martyrs day. They are just throwing everywhere police and military. My car was behind the military car. We were the 4 person. Who was the driving? He was Muslim. They are एकदम लगा कि अब just they are coming to kill us. जान बचाए कैसे भी वहाँ से भागे फिर हम आए. इस तरीके टेरर तो everywhere it is in J&K.
See, today is 7th of Feb. Afzal Guru was hanged on 9th of Feb.
Yeah.
So we are having a repeat telecast in a couple of days. So do understand, Kashmir is not as easy as we perceive it to be. It's a historical issue. There are issues which political parties do contest. But over and all, these are incidences pertaining to law and order, which the police machinery of the state is good enough to handle. Majority of the people are peace loving. Therefore, you have peaceful elections in Kashmir. The turnout in Kashmir is as good as any other part of India, rather even better than other parts of India.
But they are not coming sometimes in front. That's why it is, such things is happening.
Now, can you give me an example where they don't come in front?
Whenever it's happened, that is my experience itself.
A chief minister of Kashmir is a Kashmiri. The deputy chief minister is from Jammu. You have cabinet ministers who are Kashmiris. People who are deciding for Kashmir.
That is the political motivated. There is some anti-social element who is doing such type of things. But the major people who wanted to peace, they are not coming front when such things is happening.
You have to create an atmosphere of peace for the right-minded people and the peace-loving people to really come and express themselves.
Right.
The UPSC topper was a Kashmiri in 2010, Dr. Shah Faisal. Now these people did come up. They did swear by the constitution of the nation. They do believe in the entire national agenda. So it's not that people don't express themselves. It has a historical context. It is the context of an unruly neighbor whose interference is always going to be a problem. So let us be slightly palliative towards the entire cause.
What is the corruption? Everywhere in the system, people are aware that this is the corruption is going on. So what is in your languages? How many types of corruptions are there in the society, in the department?
See, there are 4 types of corruption. Okay. Understand what Chanakya wrote in Arthashastra. He wrote that corruption is like honey kept on the tip of your tongue. You can't help but taste it. Or it's like a fish moving in water. When it drinks some water, you won't even understand. So corruption is embedded in the system where you have a right to a certain information. How do you use the information is very difficult to root out. But then there are types of corruption. One of the very senior officials told us there are 4 types of corruption called Nazrana, Shukrana, Mehantana and Jabrana. So Nazrana is something like an officer joins a police station or a district. Suddenly people would come up with gifts and they would expect favors from him later on in their lives. Then there is Shukrana, when somebody would come, ki this thing has happened, you please help me out, and in exchange whatever you need, we'll give it to you. Jabrana is that fellow doesn't come to you, but the police officer goes to him. and picks the son up, and to release him or ask for favors. That's Jabrana. So Nazrana, Shukrana, Jabrana has got no place in civilized society. It must be rooted out. The one thing which people do justify in different angles, which even I do not justify at all, is called Mehentana. So people as a right would say, okay, I visited your house and I did an urgent passport verification, and somebody offered me a cup of tea and then would pay for the rickshaw fare which I have come across. People do tend to justify such kind of corruption. But then as a society we have to decide what kind of tolerance we have towards it. As far as I am concerned, it's an open debate. People should debate on it. There were certain attempts made, even by the Indian Railways, if I am not wrong, that the amount of fine collected by the ticket checkers, a certain portion would be remitted to their accounts, so that the corruption would be rooted out. I do not know whether it succeeded or not, but the thinking was correct. You need to incentivize good behavior. If some officer is doing really good, he needs to be incentivized. Now, it might be bad on my part to say, but then if you make horses and donkeys run in the same race, it's never going to be equality, it's never going to be equity. So there has to be incentivization of good behavior, and there should be harshest of punishment given to any kind of misbehavior, which we have a tolerance to. We don't have enough complainants, we don't have enough approvers, and we don't have enough convictions as far as corruption cases are concerned. So this is what my take on corruption is.
Yeah. Last question. What is a Purvanchal Utthan Trust, and what is the aims and object of the trust when you have started it?
See, I didn't start any trust. I don't hold
You have
any.
associated.
I don't even hold an office in it. But yes, I came across this idea of certain people staying east of the Saryu River, which normally we call the Purvanchal.
Okay.
It starts from the eastern part of Lucknow and goes right up to Bihar border. Starts from Sonbhadra on top and really actually comes down. So these 24-25 districts what form Purvanchal, most of them are Bhojpuri speaking people. And this is one of the poorest areas of the present state of Uttar Pradesh. They do have an aspiration of a separate state. I do not know how far the aspiration has been brought legally, but then you keep reading and discussing about it. The observation what was made by me and my colleagues was that a lot of Purvanchalis, me being one, our parents, our forefathers shifted from UP and they came to Maharashtra and other places. So we do have a reason to ponder why did they have to leave their motherland? Why they had to leave the comfort of a stay what you normally would have in your own soil? They came here and the kind of lives they have lived. We are not very happy about the kind of struggle they have made. And are we improving by the day? 25 years down the line, I still see people who come from Purvanchal and again start selling the same bananas what 25 years ago our uncles would have done. Still driving the same auto what 25 years our uncles would have done. Still becoming watchmen of ATMs what 25 years ago our uncles were watchmen of banks. So the scenario has changed, but the condition of the Purvanchalis in these Mumbai and its suburban areas have not changed. So Purvanchal Utthan Trust is an attempt made to provide institutional support to the people who come from Purvanchal and they settle down into Mumbai and its suburban areas.
Okay.
Institutional support regarding education, scholarships, maybe a Purvanchal Bhavan where they can get their daughters and sons married at a cheaper rate, providing them library, reading room under one roof. So this is what an attempt was made by my colleagues, and I really support them and wish them all the best in their future as far as PUT is concerned.
Great. I hope that Purvanchal Utthan Trust will do, and a lot of changes for the UP and students and poor people. Thank you very much for your precious time. This is Mr. Shailendra Mishra, DCP Traffic, JNK.